All right, so we're going to be going over 2.4 number 10. And this has to do with what we were doing before. So there's a couple of examples that we did before, but someone asked for number 10. So let's get into this part. So the very first thing that we do whenever we have a table like this, and I'm just going to tell you right now, it says fill in the missing values of the table based on the growth that is described, then create the explicit equation for the table. And so it says the growth in the table is tripled at each whole year. So that's telling me that we're dealing with geometric, which, that's what this whole section is. But so I need to figure out how to go from here to here and then go all of these in between, guys. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to, oops, sorry, let me open one thing. I am going to divide what they gave me. Okay, I'm going to divide what they gave me. And so when I divide, oops, give me a second. When I divide those two, I get 6 divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, 6 divided by 2. So whatever they give me, I divide 6 divided by 2. Then I count how many jumps they gave me. And so if you look, I have 1, 2, 3 jumps. I have 3 jumps to use by 3. Okay, so I'm thinking of what to the third gives me 3. What to the third gives me 3, because I'm multiplying, because it's tripled, right? So that means in between it is also being tripled. So or like it's being broken, that tripled is being built basically. So I think, okay, well, what number cubed gives me 3? And I'm like, I don't know that number. And you're right, you don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cube root, which means this. I'm going to cube root the number like this. And so my answer, this growth factor right here, which I'll call R is equal to the cube root of 3. So R, this number in here, R, is going to be equal to the cube root of 3. So every single time down here, I'm going to multiply by my ratio, my common, like my growth factor. So it's cube root of 3, cube root of 3, and then the cube root of 3. So this is going to be really messy because Miss Johnson cannot write small to save her life. So she's going to I'm going to squeeze it in there. Okay. So that's 2 times the cube root of 3. And then this is 2. Now let me do this over here really quick. So if I say the cube root of 3 times the cube root of 3, so I'm gonna try to fill in this box right here, but the cube root of 3 times the cube root of 3, what do you think that is when I simplify that? So if you said, Miss Johnson, do I keep the cube root? The answer is yes. And then what would you do with these 3s? And you're like, well, multiply them because that's what they said to do. And the answer is yeah. So it's just the cube root of 9, or you could just rewrite it as the cube root of 3 squared. Now I'm going to rewrite it as the cube root of 3 squared because that's what my function is going to kind of look like. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So I'm going to put 2 times, and this is going to get where it gets messy, the cube root of 3 squared. And then I'm going to write all of those in there. I'm going to continue, right? So I already know that 6 times 3, right? Because these are all going to be times 3. This is going to be 18 here, which is great because I can fit 18 in there. But these guys are going to follow this same thing. So here I'm going to write 6 times the cube root of 3. And this is going to be 6 times the cube root of 3 squared. This is 18 times the cube root of 3. And then this is 18 times the cube root of 3 squared. Okay. So there goes. It looks like really sloppy work. If you get really, really close, you can kind of see that writing there. Actually, I'll make it a little bit bigger there. Okay. So then I need to write my formula. And my formula just goes like this. Whatever they gave me, so that's going to be my A term. So they gave me my 0 term. So I'm going to use that 2. So that 2 right here is that 2 right here. And then I'm going to multiply it, right, by my common ratio or my growth factor, which is cube root of 3. So the cube root of 3, right? Oh, I don't want to do it by the cube root of 3. I'm sorry, I lied. Because I want this to be, I don't want this to be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, this exponent here. So I'm going to switch that out. I'm going to multiply it by 3. And then I'm going to put it to the n. Because they wanted the equation for the whole year, not these little partial years here. So that's why I switched it from my multiplier of cube root of 3. Because then, and if you think about it, your 3 goes from here to here, right? This is by 3 here, from here to here. Okay, so again, whenever you're writing these explicit exponential equations, this is basically what it looks like. It's your a times your multiplier to the exponent. Now, sometimes you'll see me write n minus 1, but that's because they didn't give me my 0th term. Okay. Hope that makes sense.